Hey everyone, George, finally back with another video. Today we're taking a look at the brand new iPad Pro. Finally, after many years, I've upgraded my iPad Air 2 to the brand new iPad Pro, and I'm telling you, this device is amazing. This is definitely a noticeable upgrade. It's been quite a few years since I've had the iPad Air 2, and I'm really loving it so far. So I'm just going to kind of give you guys my opinion of the iPad Pro and how it is working so far. So the biggest thing with the brand new iPad Pro is the screen size. Apple ended up making the screen size a little bit bigger without changing the actual body of the iPad Pro. So now we have a 10.5-inch screen compared to the last generation model that had a 9.7-inch screen. So basically it just looks a lot nicer. We have more real estate on the iPad without changing the actual size of the device. Apple also added some new technology into their brand new screen, and that is called Apple ProMotion. What Apple ProMotion basically is having a refresh rate of 120 Hz on your iPad. Now, if you're familiar with gaming monitors and other monitors such as TVs that we use nowadays, a lot of TVs support this 120 refresh rate, and basically what it's doing is it's making fast-moving objects on the screen look a lot sharper and less distortion and less blur. So now the iPad has the same feature too, basically making the animations of the iPad seem a lot smoother and a lot buttery. Now it's hard to get it on video, but in person, if you put these side by side with an older iPad, you can definitely tell a difference of this ProMotion technology, and it really looks great. It's so smooth. The interface is just awesome, and it feels like butter when you're scrolling through a Safari and going through emails and reading different things. It's just the animations are sweet. They're really nice. On top of that, Apple also added support for the P3 wide color gamut, basically making pictures look more true to life and more vivid and richer. Just a lot more colors are supported now with this display, making photo editing a lot better and maybe more attractive for someone that's an avid photographer and maybe considering the iPad as a portable unit to take around with them. Apple also improved the brightness of the display and changed the anti-reflective coating on it, so now it's much easier to read the iPad Pro in bright sunny daylight, especially down here in South Florida. We always have sun, so this is definitely going to be more usable in the outdoors. So with this new iPad Pro, there's a brand new processor called the A10X Fusion chip, which is rocking 6 cores clocked at 2.38 GHz, which is quite amazing for an iPad. 3 of those cores are actually high-performance cores called the Hurricanes, and 3 of those are energy-efficient cores called the Zephyrs. Of course, we also have a 12-core GPU, which means gaming on the iPad is going to be a beast. This thing is awesome. The graphics are looking great, and all these brand new games that developers are making, and really there's a convergence of almost console-like gaming quality on the iPad, which I think is absolutely insane. And of course, we have 4 GB of RAM, which I'm not really too concerned about because iOS does know how to handle memory very well, so really there shouldn't be any memory constraints to worry about. And even with all that power in the brand new iPad Pro, you still get the same 10-hour battery life, which is amazing, so this thing is going to last you all day. So just for comparison's sake, I'm going to show you the difference in Geekbench score from the iPad Air 2 to the brand new iPad Pro. Of course, the gap is going to be insane because these things are about 4 or 5 years apart, but just for comparison's sake, you see what the scores are on the iPad Pro and what the scores were on the iPad Air 2. So as you can see, the iPad Pro is definitely much faster than the iPad Air 2. Of course, these two devices are a few years apart. You can see the various different specs here. The iPad Pro is definitely a monster and has a really good processor in it. So even though Apple did not update the Apple Pencil, it did get an update on its own because of the new technology in the iPad Pro. Because of that new ProMotion technology, now the Apple Pencil is even smoother and more accurate than it ever was before, making it one of the best styluses for a tablet on the market. And that is true because I have not seen anything else that compares to the accuracy and smoothness of the Apple Pencil. And if you guys want to see a video specific to the Apple Pencil, go ahead and let me know down in the comment section below. And of course, with the iPad, we can never forget about those cameras. So they actually did update the cameras, and they have the same exact camera as the one in the iPhone 7, even the front-facing camera. But even though it's 2017, don't be that guy that takes pictures and selfies with his iPad. Just use your phone. Please use your phone. Now, of course, this new iPad Pro wouldn't be all awesome if it wasn't for iOS 11. iOS 11 has brought so many new features to the iPad, and the whole experience of the iPad has completely dramatically changed, with inclusion of the new multitasking features, the brand new dock, and of course the drag and drop. Now, if you haven't heard of these features, we'll go over them real quickly. Multitasking, basically now the iPad is like a multitasking beast. You can have apps floating around on the screen, whether it's on the left side or the right side. You no longer have to be restrained to that split view, so now more apps can actually run in the foreground and then you have an app in the background, so it's easy to manipulate between 2 apps. My favorite combination is opening one password, copying a password into that, and then immediately going to whatever app I'm trying to log into, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, and it just works so fast and so seamless. It's really nice. I'm so happy that Apple finally brought true multitasking to the iPad. Of course, there's the brand new dock. Now, the brand new dock is very similar to the one in macOS. If you're familiar with macOS, your dock is where all your home apps sit there, and basically it's just like your shortcuts to open your apps. And it works the same way in the iPad. So on the main left side of the dock are where all your apps are pinned, so all those apps are always going to stay there. And then to the right of where all those pinned apps are your most recently used apps. And those apps are just popping up based on usage, so if you just were in it and you switch to one app, they'll stay there so you can quickly go back to that app rather than having to open the full multitasking screen. But even though that still works very fast, it's really nice to have that. I feel like Apple is converging with macOS in this sense, and it's really nice to see those features there. Now, of course, the biggest feature of them all is called drag and drop. Now, if you ever used a computer, you know how to drag files between folders and all of that. Well, now we have that same functionality on the iPad, which is pretty sick. Apple brought this new Files app, and that's kind of where the main function of this is in the files. You can move around apps, reorganize them, drop them in files and all that. But now you can also drag and drop files into other apps, which is pretty amazing. The only problem is those other apps have to support drag and drop, but a lot of developers have been adopting it. So I think drag and drop is going to become mainstream. Just give it maybe a few more months, because iOS 11 literally just came out a month ago. So there's still some time for developers to be updating and getting them. But drag and drop is probably going to revolutionize the multitasking of the whole iPad and making it a lot more like a desktop experience. So the iPad Pro is not a cheap device by any means. The one I have here is the 64GB Space Gray 10.5-inch display, and that starts at a price of $649, and they only go up from there. So I want a case that's going to protect my iPad and make this thing last as long as possible. My problem with those iPad Smart Folio cases is that they don't cover the back of the device, and over time my device is going to get scratched and dull like what happened to my iPad Air 2, and I intend on keeping this device for just as long as I did with my iPad Air 2. So of course I want a case that's going to protect it from drops and falls and protect the back from getting scratched, so it comes in the iVapor Smart Folio case. Now I really like this case because for one, it has all those features I'm talking about, covers fully front and back, and all the corners are reinforced so that if you drop this iPad or anything like that, you know that it's going to be safe in here. And the second biggest thing that I really liked about this case was there's a slot to put your Apple Pencil right there next to the screen. Now I think this is an excellent thing to have on a case, because if I want to just run and gun, I have my iPad ready, I put my Apple Pencil and I just run out the door. I don't have to worry about putting it in my pocket, potentially losing the Apple Pencil, or maybe the cap falls off because it was in my backpack and then I lose it. So having everything in one case makes it so much easier and so much better to just run and take the iPad whenever you want to. So it has a nice gray finish to it with a fabric touch, and I really like this because it feels comfortable and it's grippy, so you don't have to worry about dropping the iPad or anything like that. And it doesn't make the iPad all that much thicker, because of course the iPad is a very thin device and you want a case that keeps the device thin. This case does not make it any much bulkier, just enough so that the iPad is protected and you don't have to worry about dropping your iPad. And I really like this case because it just works for me very well. The color was nice and it was awesome to have. So I stumbled upon another product by the same company that made the iVapor case, and that's called the Odom Apple Pencil Charger. Now I thought this was really interesting because I wasn't looking for this and I didn't even know such thing existed. But if you know how you charge the Apple Pencil by sticking it to the bottom of the iPad, I don't think that's the smartest way to do it. Of course, Apple couldn't think of anything else, so that's what they had to do. They do include an adapter so you can plug it into a regular iPhone charger, but that's not as great either. So having something like this on your desk, in your desk setup, just to plug in your Apple Pencil when you're done using it, I think is really handy, and it charges it just as fast as you would if you plugged it on the bottom of the iPad. The only problem is it does not tell you when the Apple Pencil is fully charged. That's probably a limitation of Apple's end, not allowing them to read the Apple Pencil battery level, but when you plug it in, the indicator turns orange, meaning it's charging, and when you take it off, the indicator is green, meaning it's ready for you to plug in your Apple Pencil. Now I really like it because if you're an artist or a designer and maybe uses the Apple Pencil all day long, this is a really good product for you to have on your desk, because when you want to get up and just walk around, you plug it in so it's always charging, your Apple Pencil is always ready for you to go, and it's always there on your desk, which is really nice. Of course, it has a really nice finish to it. It's made out of metal with a nice wood finish on the bottom and a rubber on the bottom so that it doesn't slide off your desk and it's easy to pick your pencil up and down from. I will include the link for both of these products down below if you want to take a look at them and maybe purchase one for yourself. Now, if you think the brand new iPad Pro is the best iPad Apple has made yet, go ahead and smash that like button. And of course, if you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for more videos coming at you soon.